world where sports have stretched beyond the fabric of reality and podcasts became as common as potholes, there were two guys in Morgantown, West Virginia, who desired to do something different. These two guys came up with an idea to bring real life back to the arena of sports and hopefully be somewhat entertaining along the way. These two guys are certainly no experts, and they are definitely not comedians. They just think they are. This is the Extra Medium Podcast, and here are those two guys.
And away we go. Hey, welcome everyone. We want to thank you for joining us. This is the Extra Medium Sports Podcast. I am Justin Jackson, the sports editor of the Dominion Post. And why do we call this the Extra Medium Podcast? Well, because we are two plus-size guys living in an extra medium world. Like I said before, I am Justin Jackson. I'm your host.
And I'm Matthew Amory, former WVU lineman and state champion at Morgantown High.
On the show today, we are loaded today, Matt. This is our first. Yeah. This is our first episode, Season 1, Episode 1.
Season 1, Episode 1, baby.
We don't know if there's going to be an Episode 2, to be quite honest, but we're going to see how this goes. On the show today, we are going to talk football, WVU football. We have the return of Rich Rodriguez. We have high school football starting this weekend. So it's going to be a loaded show, lots of topics. Later on in the show, we will have Michael Griffith from the Dominion Post, high school sports reporter. And also, Matt, the $5 challenge is in play today. What is it?
Okay, so the $5 challenge is our personal thing where if we can make one another break character and bust out laughing, we owe the other $5. So I did have some tricks up my sleeve. Hopefully I can get Justin here. I do need me $5. I stopped, get me a nice little energy drink or something on the way.
Now, I do want to know here, just to clarify on this, a light chuckle, a hearty smile does not cost me $5.
No,
correct?
We're talking like we need to break character like SNL. We need to get a little laugh. There's no little chuckle within $5 here. That's too much of a slippery slope.
Fist pounding the table kind of laughter. Is that what we're talking about
here?
Okay.
Yes, that's all what we need. That's what will be applicable.
Our sports podcast is something that we've been talking about. Matt and I, we'll get into this here in a little bit, but we've been kind of going through the ins and outs of this since April, right?
Yes.
For a few months. Let's just start off. Matt, where can people find the Extra Medium Sports Podcast?
All right, I'm glad you asked. You can always find a link to the Extra Medium Podcast at www.dominionpost.com or find it at social media on Spotify or YouTube.
The theme of the podcast is sometimes we'll have some friends, we'll have some colleagues on from time to time. Maybe we will track down some coaches and some athletes, high school, WVU, and whoever can agree, we can agree to come on with us. But first, Matt, tell the good people, do we have anyone sponsoring the show?
I'm glad you asked. The Extra Medium Podcast is proudly sponsored by the Erickson Alumni Center. Whether you're interested in hosting a corporate retreat, a baby shower, or a beautiful wedding reception, we take pride in making every experience a memorable one.
We are going to talk football today, but before we do that, I wanted to kind of take this first episode and just kind of tell the people, how in the heck did this get started? Why are we doing it, and why is this worth listening to? And I kind of wanted to start off by saying that the idea of this podcast was really something my wife, the beautiful Elisa, she had been bugging me for years, Matt, probably like 2 years. And, why don't you do a podcast? Why don't you go out there and do something different? And at first I'm like, I just always kind of played it off. And I was like, it's just not my thing. It's not what I really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't think it would work. And then she wore me down after some time. And I really kind of started thinking about it, a few months later. And I started thinking, this could work if we did something different. And then I kind of got to my mind where, if I could find somebody different, somebody that it was maybe outside the box a little bit, someone that I could have some fun with, someone that we could have some good chemistry with. And so that's kind of where I was stuck for a month, a couple of weeks or so. And then I walked into Sheetz one day. Right, that's Don, is that still Don Knotts Boulevard?
Yeah, Don Knotts Boulevard.
Yeah. And I walk into Sheetz one day and I run into Matt Amory. It was like, we just kind of picked up
where we left off. And how many years?
I don't know, 10, 12?
10, 12 years, and I can always remember just having a special relationship with you from high school, from meeting you for the first time, and you really got me to love talking to the media. I love to talk to you. It was something that not only I enjoyed to do with the sport, but it made, hey, I want to do good. I want to have some material for Justin. I want to get that sack. I want to be on. But you really brought my love getting to know the media and being able to be who I am and who I was. And like you said, you're getting an outside of the box character.
Oh, yeah.
And this was exciting for me and a no-brainer when you mentioned this. This is a blessing. I had spent probably about 20 years in California, and I'm born and raised in Morgantown. I bleed blue and gold. I'm a Morgantown High alum, state champion. I may or may not be biased toward the Morgantown High Mohegans, but it's so good to be back here and get reconnected with what's really in my soul. So
I wanted to get so it had probably been a good 12 years since I had seen you. And now I think we maybe talked on the phone one time by mistake at some point during your vacation in California.
Yes.
Tell the people now. You went into acting, right? I mean, so you left college or kind of just break down how you got into the California lifestyle.
So I got my master's at WVU in sport management, and I got a summer job at TJ Maxx, and I was like, this isn't it. I'm going to California. I'm doing this. And I went to Los Angeles. I made a couple connections. I got into production and acting. I was working on production for like Hell's Kitchen, Big Brother. Acting, I was in house, but just background stuff. I ended up working in residuals, and that's when a show re-airs. That was our job to pay it. So still working in the entertainment section, but ultimately, Country Roads needed to take me home.
Yeah.
I was ready to come back, so I'm happy to be back. That was a great time. But Los Angeles is different. Football is not the most popular thing. It's not. It's a different culture than it is here. And to be frank with you, I'm happy to be back in this culture, back with the blue and gold. And I mean, not to bring it up too quick, but we got some football coming up Thursday.
Right. I got a question for you now. So, you've lived the football life, you lived the acting life. In your opinion, I'm interested on your take on this. Which one is the most difficult avenue to break into, making a career in the NFL or making a career in Hollywood?
Oh, this is a good question. So, back in my day, I can't believe I'm saying that. My goodness, where did time go? We would say NFL would stand for not for long.
Right.
I tell you what, Justin, when you put on the film of these NFL guys, they don't miss a step. They're fast. Hey, you need me to go and hit somebody? I got you. I'm your guy. Coach Rod, put me in. You need me to pick up an exquisite blitz on third down that when I look up, they're in a completely different formation. I'm going to have to say NFL, not for long. Acting there's just so many avenues you can go, whether it's voice acting, cartoons. There's so many side gigs, digital media. When I was streaming was big in like around 2016 coming up with next. So who knows what the next big thing could be? Virtual reality. There's even TikTok and all that stuff. Everybody's on all the social media platforms. You have more of a chance. I think there's less of a chance. Take an injury for consideration for the NFL. Like, everything has to come together. Man, and those guys can play ball, but NFL not for long is what we used to say. That's what my buddy James Dirty Davis would say.
So you've got more respect then for Aaron Rodgers than Brad Pitt? Is that how would you?
Well, you put me on the spot like that. You might get that $5 right there, bro. That's a good question. Yeah, I go Aaron Rodgers.
All right.
I go Aaron Rodgers. Hey, and I'm excited to see him throw around the pigskin a little bit for those Steelers now.
I'm going to rewind the clock here now. I'm going to take it back to your high school days. Now, this is when we first met, first got together.
Okay.
And you were offensive line, defensive line, Morgantown High, all-state player. I was working the high school beat for the Dominion Post back in those days. It has been my realization that when you talk to high school athletes for the first time or early on in their career, they get very nervous. They're very conservative. They talk in cliches, and it's hard to get them to open up and, tell a story or tell them about themselves. Not you. You came out of the box punching, man. Do you remember our first interview?
I feel like I vaguely remember it at MHS.
You talked about, I think this was your first.
Was it about wrestling?
You talked about you wanted to be a professional wrestler.
So
did you have a professional wrestling name? King Kong Matt? I don't know.
King Kong Matt, Big Ames is what they called me a lot of things. I can't repeat on the show either. But one of the things, believe it or not, I loved cutting promos. Mm-hmm. Good Lord, if you knew me in high school, I'd always be cutting a promo thinking I was The Rock or something. But I love that charismatic part. It just was a part of the game, and it felt natural, and it felt fun to be around people who shared the same interest and same. I mean, we worked our tails off to be where we were, and we also worked on our charismatic game, our punchlines, getting us on the.
The reason why I bring it up is because you're 16, 17 years old at the time. You're telling stories about how you want to be a professional wrestler. You told me a story one time. I don't know if you remember this. You told me a story about how in the summertime you wanted to go break the state record for eating the most steak tips in one setting.
And you remember I did that, right?
I don't. Did you?
That set a state record for the most steaks. I'm very proud of that.
These are not conversations you have as a sports reporter talking to a high school athlete. 9 times out of 10, you were different. Caught my eye. I'm just kind of wondering. You're talking about some of the promos. What is it about Matt Amory that made you so charismatic? And why were you not scared to, talk to the media?
I generally think, and if you really want me to break down the layers, it's my love for life and love for people. I think one of the things in life that bring me immense joy, a deep satisfaction, is putting a smile on people's faces. Being in communication and having fun and sharing that interest was awesome. And the relationship kind of grew into a point where it's like, I'm seeing a buddy come over. So we weren't even really talking as athlete to reporter. I feel like we were developing a friendship. And I really look back and cherish those times because look at it today. And at that time, I did see you in sheets. Man, it was good to see you. That not only put a smile on my face, but it put a smile on my soul. And to see where it's going to and where it can go is just awesome.
Well, when I saw you that day, it clicked. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, you were kind of like what I was looking for. You were the missing piece, so to speak, and hopefully this will kind of come out in the podcast in the weeks to come. God help us if they let us keep doing this.
Oh, it's going to be awesome, man.
I also wanted to there's another thing that kind of was interesting to me with your background. There was a kid on the WVU basketball team last year. His name was KJ Tenner. He was a backup point guard, and he kind of reminded me of you a little bit in the sense that he was a freshman last year. And he comes out and he's telling us these great stories, and he's obviously not afraid when the camera's shining in his face, and he's not afraid to open up, and he's just telling us all this stuff about him. And I'm like, man, this kid's, just really, really great to talk to. And he told a story about how, now he's from Memphis. He's from Memphis, Tennessee. When he was in high school, he said he didn't get a lot of coverage from newspapers or TV or whatever in high school. So when they would sit around the dinner table as a family, his little sister and his mom, they would interview him. They'd grab the wooden spoon and use it as the fake microphone, and they would ask him questions. And he said that's how he got good at talking to the media.
That's awesome.
I'm wondering if Mama Amory ever did anything like that.
Mama Amory, may she rest in peace. She had to deal with. She didn't even have to do that. She had to deal with me. They didn't even have to put anything in front of my face. I would just be talking. I'd be like, "Hey, Mom, did that one sound good? Oh, make sure to say I love you, Mom, and then it's perfect." But what a sweet woman. No, didn't really have anything like that. It was more, "Hey, honey, Matthew, it's dinner time. Let's not do the promos now. Let's just keep it."
All right, good. Hey, speaking of promos, Matt, do we have anyone who can pay the bills for us?
Hey, a big shout out to our sponsor, the Erickson Alumni Center. Provide your guests with an elegant experience utilizing our state-of-the-art conference technology and catering from our in-house executive chef.
It is now time for what I hope, and I guess we all hope, what will be our favorite segment of the show. We call it, What Caught Matt's Eye?
Matt's eye, Matt's eye, Matt's eye. What has caught Matt's eye?
All right, for What Caught Matt's Eye, we're going to go to the WVU Hall of Fame class of 2025 and the inductee, Coach Bill Stewart. As we all know, Coach Bill Stewart's a huge part of the West Virginia University Mountaineers, especially the football program. But this is wonderful to see him get inducted. He has a wonderful family. But I'd like to share a story about Coach Stewart just to let you know the kind of man he was. I actually left the team at the end of my sophomore year. I left the WVU Mountaineers. That was my dream, and just I didn't want to. Whatever, I wasn't there. But it turned out to be a big mistake. I made a mistake. I hadn't spoke to any coaches. I was too scared to speak to them. What do I say?
Right.
I made a mistake, and that ended up where I started. But I saw Coach Stu in the parking lot of Kroger on Pattison. And I remember this like it was yesterday. And I said hi to him, and he could kind of tell. He's like, well, what's going on? And he always has that energy. This is just some guy, Joe Schmo, on the streets. The cameras aren't going. He's not getting any press for this, okay? This is the kind of man he is. He genuinely wants to know how I'm doing. I say, Coach, I'm okay. He goes, well, you look like you're ready to play. I said, it's funny you say that. I am. I've been training harder than I ever have, so on and so forth. I let him know, hey, Coach, I made a mistake. And he said, these things happen in life, son. This is one of the biggest mistakes I'd made at a young age. And he told me stuff that just my parents couldn't tell me. And coming from that coach's perspective, it's a mistake, but it's okay. You can bounce back. And do I even talk to Coach Rod, Coach Trickett at this? How do I even go back? He said, calm down, take a breath, enjoy today. It's not that big of a deal. Go in there when you want to see Coach. Go see him, but you need to see him in person. You need to tell him what you told me about your mistake and how you're going to not let that happen again, and maybe he can give you another shot, or maybe he won't. But if you're going to have kind of a regret like this, you might want to go and say something. And to me, that still stands with me till today, which is probably 20 years later, if not more. Rest in peace, Coach Stewart. Blessings to you and your wonderful family, and congratulations on your Hall of Fame inductee.
Yeah, Matt, that's pretty cool. I got a story to share about Bill, if I could, here for a second. When he took over the program, so now we're talking about 2008, 2009, 2010, somewhere in that frame. I'm still working high schools at University High. We're at the Dominion Post and covering University High in Morgantown. And I was also working the basketball beat at that time. But I had to go in and fill in over at the practice facility one time, and Coach Stewart was walking around talking to different reporters. I had never talked to him. I had never met him. And there was a kid from University High walking on, and I can't remember the kid's name at this point. But Bill comes over to me, so-and-so from University High, he's walking on, but he looks really, really good. And he goes, and I'm looking around to see maybe if he's talking to someone else. And, he's talking to me like I'm his best friend. And he just had that kind of knack. And, I don't know if I've ever really met a coach like that before. I was shocked that he even knew who I was. He just kind of had that way about him that everyone was special around him.
Justin, you're right. It's a gift he had, and his players felt that same way. And you remember before he got that job, one of my favorite WVU football players and favorite people, the runaway beer truck, Owen Schmidt.
Hey.
They're just saying, hey, guys, this is who we want as our coach. The players felt the same way, and hey, that Fiesta Bowl showed it. I remember that like it was yesterday. I watched that game in Florida. I've never been so happy. But you're 100% right. He had a gift, and congratulations to him and his family.
Yeah,
2025 Hall of Fame inductee to the West Virginia University Mountaineers.
Absolutely well-deserved. It is time now to talk football. That's what we're here for. Enough about ourselves. 2025 season, Rich Rodriguez coming back home. We all know the stories. He is back, got hired last December, and we have spring football in the books. We have the fall camp in the books. We have 70 to 80 new players on campus that he recruited out of the transfer portal. Matt, you obviously played for Coach Rodriguez. Give us a sense of what all these new guys, what they went through, and what this first camp with Rich Rodriguez was like.
Well, I'll tell you what, the vacation's over when you get to the first practice with the blue and gold and Rich Rodriguez as a head coach. I'm talking intensity, attention to detail, and I mean even when you're doing high knees in your warm-up. You better do them right. And you're going to do with what he says, you're going to play with a hard edge. That first spring when Coach Rod had come in after the Nealon era, do you remember? It was intense. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, this guy, these swear words, this and that. This feels a little bit different. I think the team needed that at that time. This time it feels like Coach Rod is coming in, but he's got a well-oiled machine. He knows what he wants, he knows what he needs, and he's going to get it. Now, I did see a couple shots of, the ball boy get in the way, spot the ball, get out of the way, and that's true. When that ball spots, we're coming after you. When we get on that offensive side, the wild side, he said, when you get on the wild side, you better be ready to play. You better be ready to play and play well and execute.
Do you think it's possible for him to bring in that many guys, and we're talking like probably 75 to 80 guys out of the portal, never been to Morgantown, never been to West Virginia. Now, of course, they've obviously played college football at other schools. To have that many new guys at one time, do you think it's possible for Rich to get them all on the same page?
Yes, I do. I don't think it's an easy task, but I do think it's possible. And let me give you a crazy scenario. Let's go back to 2005, Louisville.
Yeah.
That's Adam Bednarik starting that game, and we finished with a quarterback named Pat White.
Pat White.
Now, you probably wouldn't say that season would have ended how it ended or even started an era or so on and so forth. If any man can do it, if any coach can do it, I firmly believe Coach Rodriguez can. And I bet those players are buying in. And I bet you $1 to donut those players are buying in, because you can't give every bit of intensity. You can't be fully bought in. Unless you want to be there, unless you line up, you buckle that chin strap, whoever's across from you, whether it's practice squad or the next team on the schedule, you're going to be ready to play, line up, and bump some heads.
Here's what I'm always kind of interested in. Coach Rod, obviously, he has this reputation of being intense, a fiery individual, and some sense of the word, you could sort of kind of compare that to what I covered in basketball with Coach Bob Huggins.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bob was this very fired-up individual during the game. He's yelling and screaming, so on and so forth. Rich is the same way. What a lot of people don't know or didn't know about Bob was once the game was over, Bob wasn't Coach Huggins wasn't that fired-up guy anymore. He was back to being he was quiet and humble and funny and telling stories, and he certainly wasn't that fired up individual once the game was over. What's Rich like off the field, so to speak?
Coach Rich Rodriguez is a man who I have the utmost respect for, and probably one of the best compliments I can give him. If I do have a kid, I would like for my kid to play for him. But let me give you a story. I'm going to tie this back into the Bill Stewart story.
Sure.
In the parking lot. I actually did.
Was Rich in the parking lot?
Rich was not in the parking lot. No.
Okay.
Rich wasn't in the parking lot. So I decided, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Coach Stu's advice, and I am going to go back to the stadium. I didn't have an appointment or anything, but I remember Coach Rod would always say, like, if a former player or a player is here, I'll do what I can to meet with you. Well, when I got there were about 5 people waiting to see him. It looked like there were media members, and I'm not sure. He's a busy man. And I was nervous to the point where I'm about to sweat. I'm about to sweat and cry at the same time. I don't know what's going on. I know I want to be back on this team, and whatever I need to do, whatever role I will serve, whatever capacity to get me back on the blue and gold. I just want to tell Coach Rod this, and also let him know he was right. He was right. And Coach Rod came out. He saw me. He said, hey. And I had been training. He said the same thing as Coach Stu. You look like you're ready to play. I said, yes, sir, I am. He goes, he actually, the members waiting to see him, who I'm sure had an appointment, I did not. He said, hey, give me 1 second. I have a former player. Or he actually said, I have a player I'd like to meet with, and then I can get with you all. And he sat down and talked with me, and we went over details. And he said, we spoke with Coach Trickett, but this man cared. And if I were to come back on the team, it's not like, oh, we're getting a starter right off the bat.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting a guy, third team if he's lucky. He's going to be playing scout team.
A locker room guy.
And that still is important to him. That's a piece he still wants of that team. And he said, I'm going to go to the seniors. This is what it's going to take. This is where you stand. And the fact that he did that tells me the kind of man he is. And that's just one scenario. That's from a perspective of mine. But things like that, when you have a coach like that, you really want to play for him. You really want to go that extra mile. You don't want to let him down. And I think that's what his players feel. I think his players feel like, if Coach Rod says it, they're practicing it. They feel comfortable going out there. They have no problem executing it, and believing they can be national champions is nothing short of ordinary.
Did you have to run some extra law school hills or anything?
I had to run a lot of extra law school hills.
Hey.
Shout out to Coach Barwis, man.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, law school hills were different.
They had the basketball. Every sport does that.
Yeah.
The football team set a precedent, probably a dangerous precedent. So Robert Morse, first week, right? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think we're going to come out and we're going to show him how to play football. I think that we're going to. I'll tell you right now. I don't know if I'm allowed to predict. I'm going to predict.
Sure, go ahead.
45-21.
45-21. Okay, we got that on record. All right.
I'm excited to watch a few things. I want to see how that offensive line plays. I want to see if they're coming off, if they're going to zone block. And I'm really, really excited for Jaheim White.
Okay.
I think he's going to – okay, this is going to be a hot take.
Sure.
You can come back and get me next week if you want. But let's get Doak Walker Award list finalist.
What if it's 24-21? Close game. Field goal win. Do you panic?
No, you don't panic. You panic if you're the team because that film session's not going to be fun.
Okay.
You panic. You don't panic if you're the fans. It's if the mistake's going to happen, let's get them out now. Let's get them out before Pitt. Let's have some things to correct. Kind of, I would even say the last thing you want is everybody patting you on the back. Hey, I can't wait to go see you beat Pitt by 50. A mistake here and there may not be a bad thing. Something we can get corrected, and something Coach Rod would like to see just so we can execute.
So Rich coming out, and you're saying he doesn't have to make that "I'm here, I'm back" kind of statement in that first game, or does he? No.
From my point, from a former player perspective, no. I think if I take that part out and look at from the fan perspective, yes, I want that, and I want that bad, but it's not a panic button if we don't blow them out, and it's going to be just a great thing even just for Mountaineer Nation,
right? To
have Coach Rod out there, and I've been back in Morgantown, and the past few years really haven't seemed as excited.
It's been a few years. Yeah,
there's excitement in the air.
Kickoff is 2:00 on Saturday on the Plus, ESPN Plus. Matt, I got to know, because you're just a average Joe West Virginia guy. Are you a fan of the Plus? Are you a big streamer?
I'm a fan of the Plus. I like the Plus.
You like the Plus?
I watch it. I love the Plus.
Really?
Yeah.
Because most people hate the Plus.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just it takes them out of their comfort zone.
Well, that seems like a personal problem to me. You take me out of my comfort zone. I want to watch. Hey, I'll see what's going on. I don't care who's playing. You get my Mountaineers on there, I'll become a quick fan of them.
Matt, I got one last question for you. It's obviously the question that's been on every WVU fan's mind. Who in the heck is going to play quarterback? And from a lineman's perspective, does it matter who plays quarterback?
It matters for a couple reasons. I think we're going to start with Nico, see how Nico does, fully capable of being a wonderful quarterback. Does it matter? Yes, obviously from a play style, but from an offensive lineman perspective, even receivers, cadence. Quarterbacks have different cadence once you get a different guy in there. I tell you what, though, let's see how Nico can handle it when he gets in there.
Sure.
I have nothing but confidence. I would love to play for the guy, to be honest with you.
With Nico?
I'd love to block for him.
Okay.
I'd love to. But, Jalen Henderson, he looks like a wonderful athlete, too. And he reminds me, do you remember 2009 Jarrett Brown?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit more athletic, maybe with more of a cannon than Jarrett Brown. And Jarrett was a wonderful player. Heck, he might even have been on the basketball team.
No, he did. Yeah,
he was on the basketball team. So we'll see. It does matter.
He was on the roster.
He was on the he was on the roster. He was on the roster. We'll say that. And it does matter, but I think we're in a position where let's see what this guy can do when he's in here, and let's start to build that relationship with the quarterback. With how is our on-field relationship going to be? If I could give just a short story, and this is in practice. Let me just tell you. You want to know an awesome quarterback? So I get my bell rung. One of those one of those bully defensive linemen hit me a little bit late. Some may say it was after the whistle, some not. But we were doing reps with Pat White. And Pat looks at me, he goes, "Who hit you?" I said, I pointed at him. Pat goes and grabs the guy. He goes, "You don't ever hit my lineman like that," and pushes his face mask.
Really?
And the guy's intense. And let me tell you, if that didn't make me want to block for him,
sure.
I mean, at that point, I still have his back to this day. That has affected me so much in a positive manner that I still have that man's back to this day. And these guys are going to have similar situations with these quarterbacks, and it's going to be exciting to see.
If Nico goes out there and kills it, 20 of 25, 350, 4 touchdowns, is he the guy the rest of the year? What do you think?
I wouldn't say rest of the year, but he's the guy with the hot hand. We're sure going to play him now. We're going to play that guy with the hot hand. That doesn't mean there's not going to be packages for Henderson, even for Max Brown to get in there.
Right.
Let's see what they can do. But goodness willing, we want them to be able to play next man up mentality. But if Nico can go out there and ball, which I think he's fully capable of, he could ride this thing out for the season.
All right, so we're going to break out of this segment. Give me your prediction. Let's end it with predictions.
So we're going to prediction for the Robert Morris game. I'm going 42-21.
42-21.
What about you, good sir?
I've been looking for a point spread, and it's hard to find one. You get different. I think 21, 24 points, something like that. Over under. They're only calling for like 54 total points or something like that. I think it's going to be a little closer. Okay. I think West Virginia is going to win. I'm looking at probably like 35-20, something like that. Just because, you were talking earlier about, how they can get all these guys on the same page. I kind of have some doubts.
Got you.
70 guys, 75 guys, 80 guys. That's a lot. That's a lot of coffee in your can right there.
It is. But, hey, I have confidence those guys are going to be able to get that offensive line. I looked through them. I was researching them, watching them. Those guys are going to be able to get that zone step and down, and White's going to be able to make some plays.
Now, by the time you get to the second week, third week, fourth week, then the narrative kind of changes.
Yes.
For week 1, I don't know. So, I don't know. We'll see. So, we are going to go to high school football now. Can you believe high school football, college football on the same weekend? Good stuff, right?
It's a beautiful thing. And this morning in Morgantown, you're starting to feel that fall transition. Like, it's here.
Oh, you can feel it.
Yeah, there is no transition. We're here. Like, we are here.
I'm going to tell you a story about one of your Morgantown High guys.
Okay.
Maddox Twig is his young man's name. And I say young man because he doesn't have a driver's license yet. He's not old enough. He's 15 years old. I saw him last year. And he was, 6'2", 6'3", 180, 185, chiseled. He didn't play at the beginning of the year because he got hurt in a preseason scrimmage. So now it's like, week 3, week 4, he comes out, and I'm like, who's this kid?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the roster. Okay, Maddox Twig. Says he's a freshman. That's got to be a typo. This is probably some kid they brought in from like New Jersey. Whatever. It's some kid they brought in off the streets from somewhere. Ask around. Oh, no, it's legit. He's been here the whole year. He practiced with us. He's from, he goes to school in Morgantown. And he's actually a freshman. He's 14 years old. The kid can throw. The kid can run. And he has an instinct about him that you just don't see in many 14-year-old kids, because that's what he was last year. He was a 14-year-old kid playing quarterback, has great instincts. Now, when he threw the ball last year, there was a lot of hitches, a lot of quick bubbles, things like that. I'm sure it'll be a little bit different this year. But Matt, what I kind of wanted to go with this is Maddox is a different kind of quarterback than what you guys had back in the day.
Yes.
And we kind of talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Morgantown High, at their most dominant peak, when you guys were at your peak of winning state titles and dominating the state. It was running backs, it was linemen, linebackers, defensive line. It was the physical size guys. And then you'd have one guy on the outside who was the threat to catch the ball and break it. And then, of course, it was the tailback and the fullback. The quarterback was probably the last guy who jumped out on film. Now, that's not to say wasn't a good quarterback, wasn't an athletic quarterback. They certainly had Morgantown High had Division I quarterbacks back in the day. Shane Fogarty went to UConn, and Christian Montagliani played at the Army.
Yeah.
So, but this kid, the focus of the team wasn't the quarterback. The focus of this team will be the quarterback, and I think that's what sets this kid apart. I don't know if you've had a chance to see him yet. Maybe you will.
I had a chance to see him, and this kid is different. I was like, okay, here's the middle linebacker. Where's the quarterback?
Right.
And then to hear how young he is, and he throws frozen ropes. I mean, this guy's throwing lasers. I cannot wait to see what he can do, especially with a Morgantown High equipped team. Like you said, wonderful quarterbacks such as Shane Fogarty or Christian Montagliani. Wonderful quarterbacks. They could do what they needed to do. They help us win. They're Division I guys, but this guy is something special, elite of the elite, and I think it's going to be wonderful for the community, wonderful for the state to see how far he can take it, because he's got what seems like a wonderful head on his shoulders and a wonderful family. And
well, you know what he's got? He's got a scholarship offer from Marshall already.
Coach Gibby already.
Yeah, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it, but Coach Rod, let's do our evaluation and get him in the fold here. Let's make it official.
Maddox Twig and the Mohegans they open up the season Thursday night at home at Pony Lewis Field against Parkersburg. Just want to run over the other games real quick. On Friday, our local area teams are all on the road. University High travels to Musselman out in the Eastern Panhandle. Preston High also travels east. They're going to Romney to play Hampshire High, where last year I believe it was a double overtime game. Clay Battelle in the Class Single A is going, they're the only ones going west. Everyone else is going east. Clay Battelle is going west to Cameron, which could be the matchup of the week. Cameron was the Class Single A runner-up last year, lost to Wahama in the state finals 29-22. So that is the area games this weekend, which brings us to our high school insider, right? Michael Griffith, sports writer for the Dominion Post. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's nice to see both of you. Matt, it's nice to meet you, sir.
Very nice to meet you, brother. Thank you for showing up, my man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael, we've been talking about Maddox Twig. Physically, he catches the eye. Like I said, he's 6. I don't know. I mean, you probably know better than me. 6'2", 6'3", right? 180, 190.
Yeah.
What's your take on Maddox? Is he as impressive as what we made him out to be?
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't look like your typical 15-year-old. You ever seen him dunk a basketball? Because he can do that too.
Wow. Okay.
You guys talk about football, which is absolutely what we're talking about, but this kid is just really an athlete. I mean, basketball, baseball, he really does a lot. But yeah, I mean, like you said, D1 offer from Marshall, talked about his arm a little bit, and that was actually after a 7-on-7 competition, and I can guarantee that they were probably impressed with his arm throwing the ball at a 7-on-7. You're not running that much, obviously, when you're doing 7-on-7. So, but yeah, I mean, he's just, like you said, last year, limited, little hurt, little banged up, especially, with the offense that they kind of run, a lot of rushing attempts for everybody, definitely a little banged up. But when he was on the field, I mean, you like you said, the eyes are on him. I mean, he almost led them to a win over Spring Mills in the quarterfinals?
Yeah,
sorry,
quarterfinals
up there on the road. It was only a 14-7 game, right? But yeah, I mean, the kid he's the next thing around not just Morgantown High, but really Monongalia County, and it could be the state of West Virginia in the next two years for sure.
Is the offense? Are they changing the offense?
So I asked Beiser about this, and he's actually told multiple people that he says he hasn't ran a traditional wing tee for a couple years, which is what a lot of people like to label them as. But he said it's going to be pretty much the same, but you're going to see a lot of modifications. You talked about Maddox throwing a lot of check down, a lot of bubbles, a lot of hitches and stuff like that, which I think we're still going to see more of. But I think we'll see it more deliberate, and then we'll see it probably more productive, if that makes sense. I think he might have ran the ball more than he threw the ball last year.
Sure.
And he only threw for he threw for about 500 yards in 6 or 7 games. We might see him do that in one game this year. Like he has like Matt was talking about, this team is equipped for a quarterback to throw the ball. You have multiple playmakers on the outside. Carter Cooper, Zayden Lockett. They have even Waylon Callister's out there. He's a 6'4" basketball all-state player, but he's out there catching passes this year. Had a touchdown against GW in their scrimmage. So, I'm really excited, for Maddox and just to see what he can do with a full season, hopefully staying healthy, and with a playbook that is more attuned to his skill set and what he has at his disposal.
I love what I'm hearing about my Morgantown High Mohegans. I love this. Hey, great coaching staff, too.
Yeah.
Let me ask, aside from the Morgantown-Parkersburg game, what is another can't-miss game for opening week coming up here?
Yeah, so it's hard to pick because this is actually Morgantown's first season that they're going to be a part of the Eastern Panhandle Athletic Conference. And if you know anything about high school football, you know that pretty much all of those teams up there are going to be playoff contenders and maybe push for a title because you got Spring Mills and obviously Martinsburg, which were the state championship teams last year in the state championship game. You also have Jefferson. They always have talented players on the all-state list at the end of the year. Musselman, can say enough about them. A great program. There's so many teams up in that Berkeley County, Jefferson County area, which is just a growing area in the first place, right? Those teams it's really important. So, yeah, there are a lot of great games. I'm really looking forward. Obviously, Martinsburg, Morgantown is going to be great. They played last year at Pony Lewis, which was fun to see Martinsburg play high school football game, for the media guy that really never get to see one of those teams. But they also traveled to Jefferson, I think, in week 2. I'm kind of got that circled because Jefferson, I feel like, they always just have one or two games each year that they're probably not expected to win that they're going to. And I think that could be one of those quote-unquote trap games early on for MHS. It's kind of like the WV Ohio game almost. WVU's playing Robert Morris at home that first week. Morgantown's playing a Parkersburg team that they're probably expected to beat. And then they have to go on the road to a team who they are probably favored against but who is scary when they play in their own stadium, and Ohio's one of those mid-major teams who always makes some noise. So I'm looking forward to that second week when they make that first road trip, 3 hours all the way to the Eastern Panhandle and then all the way back. So that's probably the main one I'm looking at first.
Michael, we were talking about Maddox Twig. There is obviously another quarterback in the area, and I hate using that word other quarterback because Preston High's Slayton Menko, if you haven't had a chance to see this kid play, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's certainly more than just the other quarterback. The kid's supremely talented. Yeah. Michael, Preston High, do they have more around Menko this year? Does Menko become maybe more of a statewide name this year than, obviously he kind of got his foot in the door last year. Where does he go a year later?
Yeah, and Menko's one of those kids where his size isn't going to make you see him on the field, right? It's going to be what he's doing and the amount of times that his name's being called over the PA for making a first down or something. One thing I think that's underrated this year is going to be their offensive line. They got their starting center back this year. He didn't play last year. They had a guy, I think it was Blake Jennings, I actually did a little feature story on him. He willingly played center last year for them, and it turned out okay. Slayton, he had 2,100 yards of offense himself and 27 touchdowns, 9 rushing touchdowns, 18 passing touchdowns. Wow. He's impressive. And like Twig, he's also just a raw athlete, baseball player, basketball player. Our basketball team was decent last year too. So I'm excited. The one thing I am questioning, he had some really good receivers last year that he lost. One specifically named Cody Smith. He was a senior last year. Also lost a guy like Cole Turner. He was a great athlete at Preston, state championship wrestler, really hard running fullback, blocking fullback. That helped last year. But you can't count out Slayton Menko. He could start for probably any team that you would want to put him on, in any class in the state. You just can't ignore what he does on the field. It's just impossible. So,
the unfortunate thing from a college recruiting standpoint with Slayton is, I mean, obviously with Twig, like we said, he's 6'2", 6'3". You know,
Right.
he fits the bill. Slayton is what, 5'10", 5.
Yeah, on a good day.
Yeah.
I will say he'll probably tell you he's 5'10".
Yeah.
but man, he plays like he's 6'2",
Yeah.
which is
Right.
nice. But you're right. I think that's kind of what his coach even told me before. You know, when I had asked, what's going on with Slayton's recruitment, that's kind of the thing too. It's just what every football player goes through when they're under 6 feet, right? You know?
Yeah.
So,
He's a tweener. Which when was the last time you were a tweener?
I think probably about third grade. I remember telling Grandma, "Hey, Grandma only weighed 2 pounds," and that
Right.
that scale had gone all the way past 200 pounds. So, no, honey, you're 202 pounds. So probably about third grade.
That is the unfortunate part in my mind from all the years I spent covering high school athletics. The unfortunate part is when you have a kid who has the Division I talent,
Yes.
but doesn't have the Division I
Right.
body.
Yes.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of those kind of kids
Yes.
over the years. And not to say that Slayton Mango is another one of those kids, but he kind of has that build. He's fun to watch. His stats are amazing. He had a week last week. I think it was against East Fairmont.
Yeah,
Is that
last
right?
year, yeah.
It was J.R. House numbers.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
He had 500 yards of
Don't
offense.
say that. I get PTSD
Right,
from
right, yeah,
just
right.
mentioning that name, breaking national records.
Yeah,
against
he
them.
had, and I think they won the game by like 3 or 4 touchdowns
wow.
against the Bees. I mean, he had 500 yards of total offense. It was
Wow.
It was insane. It was something else to watch for sure. I think I was at that game. It was incredible.
Yeah. So we have we're lucky to have 2 great individual quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if it how it pans out, what it turns into throughout the season. Now, Preston and Morgantown do not play, right?
They do not know.
We don't get that face to face.
Ah, man.
Right, okay.
There's no Manco versus Twig up, this season.
Okay. Well, we do have also Clay Battelle, Cameron.
Yeah.
Michael, what do you got? Cameron, second, runner up
Yep.
last year.
Yep, state runner up last year.
What do they got coming back? What are Clay Battelle's chances?
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of mentioned this on our tab that we came out with. This was one of my games to watch for the year because this game is typically on the back of the schedule for the CBs. They always typically play Cameron the last or the next to last game when you probably know where the playoff seeds are headed. Maybe the game matters, maybe it doesn't for one team. This is probably the smartest idea I have seen in as a scheduling decision for a long time for a high school team, because whether or not you go and lose the game, if you go and prove to yourself that you can play against the state runner-up, because Clay Battelle is going to be improved this year. We all know that. They have a returning first-team All-Stater on the line. They have a stable player at the quarterback now. They have some athletes on the outside. A few transfers from 100 after 100 closed down. You got the Huggins brothers coming to help out, who I have heard have been really good in practice for them. If you can go up and show the Dragons that you have an edge, you have competitiveness, that's going to give your team a lot of boost, momentum-wise, mentally, everything. If you can go into that film session the next week,
Absolutely.
whether you win or lose, but you can show, maybe you had a few turnovers, right? Maybe we stopped them on a 4th down right here when they were on the 20. Like, Aaron LePeau will find something for them to build on. That's just how he is, obviously. But that was the main thing that I pointed out in my article when I was talking about the game was win or lose, this can be a win for Clay Battelle if they can show themselves that we can, go toe-to-toe with someone at the caliber of Cameron. We know who Cameron is. Everybody, all athletics are impressive at that school. So it'll be a tough game, obviously, but I think win or lose, this is one that LePeau and his team can look back on and be like, okay, this was a win regardless of the result.
Interesting take. You had great move by moving that game to the starting of the season.
So
you have a great take on that.
Yeah.
You ready to put Mike on the spot? Michael? Michael?
Let's put him on the spot.
Heard
We need
that.
some predictions.
Okay.
First week.
Yeah, actually.
First week, let's go with the Thursday night game.
Okay.
Parkersburg at
Yeah.
Morgantown. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this will be a little closer. I actually was watching Parkersburg and Wheeling Park scrimmage on YouTube like the other day. I was just bored at home and saw it pop up. So I was like, oh, I'll see what Parkersburg has because I'm going to see them. I think it'll be a little closer. The offense is going to change for Morgantown a little bit. They always lose a lot of seniors every single year. But in my opinion, I think we'll see. I'm going to go 28-10 Morgantown, I think.
All right. Friday night, University on the road, Eastern Panhandle, going to Musselman, the Appleman.
Yeah.
I love that nickname.
Appleman.
Yeah.
One of my two of my favorite mascots.
Polka dots got to be the
Polka
first. Yeah, I was
dots,
going to
yeah.
say that's got to be the first one. You
Polka-
can't say we have good chemistry.
Right. Polka dots is first,
Yeah.
and then the Appleman. That's my second. That's my second one.
What if the polka dots played the Appleman? I digress.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
That'd be all right.
battle of the nicknames.
Michael, what do you got? University High, a bunch of young kids last year. They're
Yep.
not so young anymore.
Yeah.
Going to Musselman. What do you got?
The scary part about University is we say not so young, but they're still juniors, which
Yeah.
is crazy. They'll be back next year. But yeah, we're gonna see University is gonna show something. I'm excited to see the Hawks this year. Sorry, Matt.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay.
They got a young guy named Hayden George on the outside. He plays safety for him. He might be the best yak receiver in the state right now. He told me his goal every time he catches a pass is to get 10 yards after his catch, which that's a first down in my opinion if you have on the first play. But yeah, I would take University. Hopefully they have some stability at the quarterback. They played 3 or 4 last year through injuries, but I think they're going to score a lot, honestly. Musselman was down last year. I think they were maybe a 2-8 team. I don't really know if they brought a whole bunch back. I'm going to go University. Let's go 31. I'll take Musselman 17.
Eric Snyder getting the job done there then?
Yes, sir. I think
right.
year 2 for Snyder is going to be a big turnaround.
We got Preston going to Romney, playing Hampshire County, the Trojans.
Yep.
Last year, double overtime, right?
Yes.
Hampshire came to Kingwood and
Yes.
won. What do you got this year?
And honestly, the year before that, I think was only a 1 touchdown game. It seems like every single season, Preston and Hampshire is a instant classic, and I'll actually be heading to Hampshire for that game for that reason on Friday to watch the Knights and play Hampshire. So you talked about Slayton Manco. This is probably a game that they're going to have circled even as week 1 because that double overtime loss is probably still in the back of their mind, obviously. Yeah, I think Manco's going to lead them to a really good week 1 win over a good quad A opponent. I'm going to say we'll go Preston. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring, probably a little more running in that game. But we'll go Preston 21. We'll say Musselman. We'll go Musselman 13.
Hampshire.
Hampshire. Sorry. Yeah, the wrong green up there. Yeah. So I said Preston 21. Yeah, we'll go Hampshire. I'm going to say Hampshire 13.
All right, and then the game I'm going to Friday night, Clay Battelle at Matt. You ever been to Cameron?
I have not.
I'm going to tell you, it's very unique. The little town is you're driving obviously out there on Route 7. You're going through the mountains, and part of it's like down in the valley.
Yeah,
and the rest of the town is up in the mountains, up in the hills. It's beautiful for one, but also very unique.
Well, you remember that North-South game? I met some cool people from Cameron.
Okay.
They had like 2 or 3 people from Cameron. So I've always said, hey, those people out in Cameron are pretty cool.
And they can play some football.
They can play some football. They know how to football.
Yeah.
That's another bonus.
Yeah.
Clay Battelle at Cameron single way runner-ups last year. What am I going to see out there on Friday, Michael?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game for sure, but we kind of touched on this already. But I think the CBs are going to put up a fight. They're going to show what they have this year. And like I said, win or lose, they can turn it into win. I'm going to say Cameron will probably score a lot. They'll probably get up to 35 points, but I think Clay Battelle can score too. I'll give them 17, 35-17. I think is respectable.
Clay Battelle last year, also very young, very new. They broke in a freshman quarterback or sophomore quarterback.
He was a sophomore last year.
Corey Cohen.
Cohen, correct.
Sophomore last year.
Yep.
Wasn't the starter at the beginning of the year.
Nope.
Became the starter in the middle of the season and never gave the job back.
Yeah.
Performed very well. The freshman was Caleb Hall.
Correct.
The
Running back, right.
Same situation. Wasn't the starter at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Became the starter in the middle of the year. I don't know what happened. What happens in the middle of the year? These guys are
yeah.
Hey, single A football. You're playing. You're playing both sides of the ball. You get hit a lot. A couple injuries, but yeah, you're right. Braden Ponceroff was their starting quarterback. He got hurt, and when he came back, Aaron Lepeau, and I mean he said his players too. They talked about it. Thought Braden could do well at wideout, and he ended up catching a few touchdowns from Corey the last few weeks of the season. So
and Ponceroff is back at receiver.
Yep.
This year.
Just had an all-state basketball season.
Yep.
He's going to be excited for that. He'll be excited to get back on the field for the CBs this year.
So now you got these couple of young guys who got a taste last year are going into full swing this year.
Yeah.
Could be very interesting. I think it's going to be one. I think it's going to be close. I'm not going to pick.
You're not going to pick?
I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to. I got to be like on Kirk Herbstreit on game day. He doesn't.
Covering
Yeah,
the game,
He doesn't pick.
He doesn't give us-
He doesn't pick the game he's broadcasting.
One
so.
thing you can't say is this not an exciting week of opening football. I mean, this is exciting.
This is
a way to kick off the season.
This is I think my 4th year of high school football, or maybe 5th, and I think this is the first season that I've been working for the Dominion Post and covering high school football in Montague and Preston counties that every single team is probably pushing for the playoffs at the end of the season. Obviously, Quad A, you don't have as many teams fighting, but Preston's probably not expected to be there at the end of the year. They're going to have a big game in the middle of the season versus Woodrow Wilson Beckley in Beckley. And that's going to be
huge.
That's going to be one that they can prove that they belong in the top 16 of Quad A. And I had that on my games to watch in the other article, like I was talking about Clay Patel. That's going to be a big one for them to go against a Quad A team, a Quad A staple team, that has been there for years and years and years. Won a lot of games. So that's another one I have circled is that one too. So
Michael, we appreciate it. We didn't scare you off, did we? You'll come back?
I'll be here next week.
You the man.
And Matt, that's the first show. We made it. What do you think?
That was good. Hey, what do you think? We're going to get canceled?
I don't know. I think, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What's the over-under?
I'm going to go no comment on this one.
All right, sounds good. Hey, that's the Extra Medium Podcast. We want to thank Michael Griffith from the Dominion Post helping us out with our high school picks and coverage. And I want to thank him. He'll be back in the weeks to come, days to come, and hopefully we can continue some good sports talk. And that's what we're going to try to do here.
Hey, and thank you for tuning in to the Extra Medium Podcast. Also, a special thanks to the Erickson Alumni Center for supporting the show. Select a wedding venue where you can host the perfect ceremony and reception while providing your guests with caring and comfortable environment. The Erickson Alumni Center. This is the Extra Medium Podcast, where couches are safe, but the takes are on fire. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.